Good evening and welcome to the November 2019 Council meeting. Today is the one day year when the Mayor steps down at 6 a.m. until the next Mayor is elected in the next 7:15, the next 15 minutes. So it's a rare moment where the CEO has to chair the meeting. So thank you for coming along this evening. So as I pointed, the first item 1, is interim chairperson, which I've just talked through under our local law. I'm the interim chairperson until the Mayor is elected, which is at item 10.1.2. So I'll move on to item 2, which is recording and live streaming of council meetings. All council meetings are filmed with both video and audio being recorded. Video is focused on a specific area, from the Councillor Pearce through to Mr. Jeremy. By speaking during question time or any time during the meeting, you consent to your voice and any comments you make being recorded. In common with all narrative during council meetings, verbal responses to congratulations, obituaries and question time will not be recorded in the written minutes. The reason behind recording council meetings is of course to hold us more accountable and improve transparency of council's decision making to our community. The full meeting is being streamed live on Council's YouTube channel, which is Alpine Shire Council, and will also be available on the YouTube channel shortly after this meeting. I'll now ask everyone to stand for the acknowledgement of traditional custodians and recognition of all people. The Alpine Shire Council acknowledges the traditional owners of the land we are now on. We also acknowledge those people who have contributed to the rich fabric of our community and strive to make wise decisions that will improve the quality of life for all. Item 4.1, ordinary council confirmation. Item 4, confirmation of minutes. 4.1, ordinary council meeting 10, 1st of October 2019. The recommendation that the minutes of the ordinary council meeting 10, held on the 1st of October, as circulated, be confirmed.
So moved. Second.
Councillor Janus, Councillor Forsyth. Any comment? No comment. All those in favour? Carried. Item 5, apologies, there are nil. Item 6, obituaries and congratulations, starting from my left. Councillor Pearce.
What was the question? Obituaries.
Obituaries and congratulations.
I have no obituaries, but I do have a congratulation, and that is to one of the true gentlemen of our district, this side of the mountains, in the Ovens Valley. I went to his birthday party on Friday night. Young bloke about town, Keith Nightingale from Wandilligong. He turned 90 yesterday, and he's still jumping around like a wild young man at the function Friday night. He's such a beautiful man, him and his wife Marianne, and the contribution he's made to in particular our area around here, but he's got orchards over on the other side too. He's been here since mid-50s, and the business has employed probably more than anyone over the years consistently, and with his family, he's grown the farm into probably one of the better farms in Australia at least. So to Keith Nightingale.
I have two. One's the death of Hazel Code. Hazel was probably one of the people I remember as young as, from my younger years, as much as my mother and father, and Hazel sadly passed away here recently. And she also gave me my unabiding addiction to iced Vovo biscuits, which I still have now, but note that Arnott's no longer make. And my second congratulation is to congratulation, not an obituary, is to the Toowoomba District Community Association for their event on Sunday evening for the opening of the War Memorial in Toowoomba. Well done, thank you.
CEO oblique acting mayor. I've got one more that I probably should throw into this segment rather than another, and that's to congratulate the committee of the Bright Rod Run, who have done a fantastic thing for for this town for a long time, and they've worked their guts out. They've done as much as they could, and their behaviour leading into this last rod run, with a little bit of controversy involved as well, has been fantastic. And I met with Russell Beetson, Tracy Pollock and Mike Dealey with my dear colleague over at the other end there, Kitty, and I'd just like to say what a great job amongst the mini turmoil, etc., that was going on there. They held their head and carried on bravely as they've done from the start. So congratulations to them. But I think as councillors on that event that we should be, not long after tonight and in the near future, is sitting down and seriously going through what happened, what should have happened, what may have happened prior to next year's one getting anywhere too close to us. Thank you to the Bright Rod Runners.
Councillor Nicholas.
I have both an obituary and a congratulation. Obituary to or for Cherie Webster from just out of Middleford. Dedicated horsewoman, raised by people who now live out near Freeburg. Instrumental in establishing Pony Club in the Shire and instructed many a young child and many a young pony. She touched many lives and will be sadly missed. Condolences to family and friends. My congratulations go to the Middleford Library staff for their initiative and commitment to create the good news story about the elderly residents who are being supported not only by the people of the library but the infrastructure there, and how the wish to be involved in the library is spreading. It's fabulous.
Councillor Keeble.
No worries, thank you. We're going 4 from 4 here. I have an obituary for Ron White, who passed away recently at the age of 99. Ron was instrumental in the setup of the township of Mount Beauty during his time at the SEC as chief engineer and other odd bods. He certainly put a lot of time and effort into that community, including the youth in his later stage of life as well. And my congratulations is to the Upper Kiva Valley Community Association for organising the forum the other day in Mount Beauty with Helen Hayes, a representative from Bill Tilley's office and from local government for Charlie. It's good to have those information sessions and availabilities for our community to have that dialogue with our elected members. So it was terrific. Thanks.
Councillor Forsyth.
That's 5 out of 5, Councillor Keeble. Obituary, I'll add a little bit more to what Councillor Nicholas said. Cherie Webster I actually employed for about 10 years. Sadly taken away at age 53, but it was a funeral, and I reckon there would have been 350 people there. It was just a massive send-off. It was just, fantastic. Her kids are holding up reasonably well. I think they were expecting this to come at some stage, but it's probably come much sooner than they thought. She was only diagnosed actually back in July. Pardon me. But on a lighter note, congratulations to the Middleford Show Society, who held another very successful show. It's one of those really iconic country shows. I think the numbers might have been down slightly this year, but look, it had everything going for it, and again, congratulations to them.
Councillor Janus.
Thank you, Mr. CEO. Just in relation to the Middleford Show, I suppose I should congratulate my wife for winning the cake again this year. Got another blue ribbon.
Conflict of interest?
No, conflict of interest. No, I didn't get to eat any of it. She said it had too much chocolate on it. Congratulations for me. I had the honour and pleasure of attending Government House in October during Seniors Week for our Jan Mock, who was a Shire employee who we also employ from time to time, very heavily involved in U3A, and was awarded an honour from the Governor with a number of other people for their work with the seniors during Seniors Week. So that was an honour to be down there to celebrate that with her, and certainly showcase the Alpine Shire and our involvement with seniors. So well done to Jan.
Councillor Napstein.
I reiterate what Councillor Pearce said regarding the hot rods. Also the Middleford show, that was a wonderful event to go and see. To the Bright RSL crew, congratulations and thank you for Remembrance Day yesterday here in Bright. Congratulations to the Bright Museum on a recent bequest from the late Tim Fisher for $20,000 to go to the Bright Museum. And a big thank you to all the crews from the CFA who have gone north of the border to help New South Wales, and what they're facing is just amazing, so thank you.
Here, here.
Councillor Keeble.
And one other one. As of 6 o'clock this morning, I'd like to thank Councillor Janice and Councillor Nicholas for doing their part in being Mayor and Deputy Mayor for the last 12 months. Thanks for the terrific job. Seeing as you're no longer in that position at the moment.
We'll move on to item 7, declarations by councillors of conflict of interest. There are nil. Item 8, public questions. Questions on notice will be limited to 2 questions per person. They can be from the floor or written. We have received no questions on notice, written questions on notice. So is there anyone from the floor who would like to ask any questions? And if they do, please come forward, say your name and where you're from, and then ask your questions. So there are nil. So we'll move on to item 10. 9. No, yes. 9. Item 9. Motions for which notice has previously been given. In accordance with our local law, number 1, Councillor Forsyth gave notice at the September ordinary council meeting for the following motion to be presented at the ordinary council meeting in November. That you see up on the screen there, that the Alpine Shire Council recognises, supports, advocates for and adopts initiatives that will help address the effects of climate change. This item will be discussed in item 10.3.1 later in the council meeting. Thank you, Councillor Keeble. Item 10.1.1, mayoral term. Before council can elect a mayor, council must first decide on the length of the mayoral term. As we are in the final, entering the final year of the 4-year term, it can only be 1 year. So the recommendation is that under section 71.2 of the Local Government Act, that the mayor be elected for a 1-year term, the term of the deputy mayor be aligned to the term of the office of the mayor, and the deputy mayor be appointed the acting mayor in the circumstances to fulfil the role of the mayor if the mayor cannot fulfil that role.
So moved.
Seconded.
I have Councillor Roper. Who was the seconder?
Councillor Forsyth.
Who was the seconder? Janice. Janice. Got it. Any comment, Councillor Roper?
No, it's self-explanatory. Thank you, Darryl.
Councillor Janice?
No, it's self-explanatory.
Councillor
Yes,
Janice?
self-explanatory,
No other
as
comment?
read.
All those in favour? Carried. 20% on that. Okay.
Call for division.
Item 10.1.2, election of mayor. Section 71.1 of the Act requires the mayor to be elected at a meeting that is open to the public. Section 73 outlines the functions of a mayor. The mayor must make the chair at all meetings of the council at which he or she is president, and undertake certain functions of the mayoral role, including providing guidance to councillors about what is expected of a councillor, including in relation to the role of a councillor, and observation of the councillor conduct principles and councillor code of conduct by councillors, acting as a principal spokesperson for council, supporting good working relations between councillors, and carrying out the civic and ceremonial duties of the office of the mayor. I'll now call for nominations and a seconder for the office of mayor in accordance with the council's election to the office of the mayor and deputy mayor procedure. Councillor Forsyth.
I would like to nominate Councillor Janis.
Is there a seconder?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Are there any other nominations?
I'd like to nominate Councillor Roper.
Is there a seconder?
Second that.
Seconded. Yep. Oh, sorry, before I need to go back a step. Councillor Janis, do you accept the nomination?
I do.
Thank you. Councillor Roper, do you accept the nomination?
I do.
I do. Are there any further nominations for the mayoral position?
Shall we put the hand up?
You have to be nominated by another councillor.
No.
So if there are no other nominations for the mayoral role, I would like to seek those in support of the first nomination being.
They can have 5 minutes talk if they like.
Thank you, Councillor Forsyth.
In
I was
order of being nominated.
Before we move to the formalities of the vote, I would like to give each of the nominees a 5-minute maximum period to talk. Councillor Janis, as you were the first nominated, I would like to give you the opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. CEO. I think, councillors, as you know, I've been in this position now for 4 years. To go for a 5th year is unusual. In fact, having a 4-year term is unusual. This council, I believe, has been running extremely well, and I take the role of mayor as per the Act very seriously. This is a role I don't think I could have done if I had a full-time job. And with it is not all beer and skittles being the mayor. There are many a time where the ire of the public is directed at the mayor or the CEO, and you just have to cop it many times, and many times I have copped it on behalf of my councillors. But the overarching thing is that we represent not only the mayor not only represents his councillors, he also represents, he or she, all the elected people, all the people that elect the councillors within the Shire, and you have to have a good rapport not only with your councillors but council staff, members of the public, and members of politicians, the other local government officials, state and federal politicians, and more importantly, local business. Because if we don't have our businesses running well within our Shire, we don't have jobs, and then there are a number of issues in relation to that. So I do believe that we are running very well in that regard. The foot has been on the accelerator, but not hard. It's been constant. We've done a marvellous job with the small amount of staff we have. Going forward, you can only do so much. Going forward, I think that we can do better in some areas, and we are looking at how we can do that as a council. And I think it's with the amount of dynamic things that have been happening here, communications is key to talking to the public, getting our message out there quite clearly and consistently. So that's something we can work on. I had hoped that the state government might have given us something about Buffalo Chalet, which we've been working very hard with, but unfortunately that hasn't happened yet as either. So I would like to lead this council into that last term. It is only a short term. 10 months we go into election mode in September, and we have all the Christmas holidays, etc., but that doesn't mean things don't happen in that time. And I think a strong and moderate, strong leadership is important, but also being moderate with that leadership, being clear on what you want to achieve, but doing it in a timely manner. It's great having great ideas, but it all needs to be focused so that we have the resource to deliver. It's no point in making promises you can't deliver. And I think I could do that job for another 12 months before we move into that next election cycle. So I'm pleased with just making those comments there.
Thank you, Councillor Janus. Councillor Roper?
I agree that Ron could do the job for another 12 months. But in saying that, I disagree that you are precluded from being mayor if you have a job. The position of mayor is open to all that are councillors and all in the council, taking into account everyone's position. Some of the things Councillor Janus mentioned, I agree with. I agree that our communications are lacking. I see a more divested style of leadership in my role. I'll be ensuring that people get to represent their community in a manner that they expect to represent their community going forward. I have demonstrated runs on the board as being the mayor, having done and led the council through some reasonably large change 5 terms ago, and I am looking forward to the support of my fellow councillors tonight to assure that I have the mayoral position. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Roper. I will now ask people to vote for the first nominee, Councillor Janus, by a show of your hands. So all those in favour of Councillor Janus being mayor for the next term? 1, 2, 3. Okay. Thank you. All those in favour of Councillor Roper being mayor? 1, 2, 3, 4. Councillor Roper.
Congratulations, Pete.
Before we do that, actually,
You've got to do the deputy.
I've got. No, I think we do the outgoing mayor. The outgoing mayor.
No, can I say something for the mayor first?
Thank you for your support, fellow councillors. I would like to acknowledge Councillor Janus's role as mayor over the last 4 years. I think Ron has led us well, and I look forward to him spending a bit more time with his wife and his garden, and his continued support for council.
Thank you, Councillor Roper. It truly has been an honour and a privilege to represent council for those 4 years, and I will represent you as well as you ever represented me. Thank you.
Oh, stop
Hey?
Darryl. No, Darryl.
It's good. It's good. And by the way, this wasn't
No,
the seating setup.
You can thank Lisa for that.
It wasn't set up like this. No, this isn't federal government.
Would anyone else like to say something about the previous mayor's role?
Why not? Thanks, Ron. I've nominated a couple of times for you to be the mayor, and like Peter, you've done a great job. And thanks very much for all your work that you did. And that's it. That'll do.
You better swap that over. I'd like to thank Councillor Janus for his 4 years of mayor. He's done an excellent role. He's been represented our shire at the MAV and will continue to do that into next year. And I look forward to our continued conversations about what we do in the shire. Thanks, Councillor Janice.
Move on. Righto. 10.1.3, election of deputy mayor. And I'll cut straight to the chase here. The mayor will call for a motion to determine if council wishes to appoint a deputy mayor for the purposes of section 73(3) of the Local Government Act 1989, to act if the mayor is absent, incapable of acting or refusing to act. In the event the council wishes to appoint a deputy mayor, the mayor will call for nominations. So can I have nominations for deputy mayor, please?
Mr Mayor, I'd like to nominate Sarah Nichols for Deputy Mayor.
Are there any other nominations for deputy mayor? If there are none, congratulations, Sarah. So it has been pointed out that I may have missed an administrative step there, but I don't think I have. So,
For a motion to determine if council wishes to appoint a deputy mayor.
well, we did want to appoint one.
Yeah, we did.
Yep. So I think that it is clear as to what we wanted to do.
We made decisions.
Yep. Yeah, correct. Item 10.1.4, contracts approved by the CEO.
Good night.
It's recommended that contracts be by the CEO be noted. Contracts approved by the CEO be noted.
So moved.
Second.
Are there any comments about the...
My question is probably to Will Jeremy about the asphalt overlay, and I noticed we've got the one in Popunka and the one in Dinner Plain, but for this particular contract, the asphalt overlay, where is that going to, please?
Thank you, Councillor Keeble. The asphalt overlay this year is in a number of different locations around Alpine Shire, so it doesn't follow the same pattern as the reseals, which typically go to our big 3 towns in succession. It's wherever our inspection shows that the work is needed.
No further questions? No further questions? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour? Carried. 10.2, Director of Assets, Will Jeremy. 10.2.1, Bright Rotary Club Twilight Market.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. This report relates to the timing and the location of the Bright Rotary Club Twilight Market. In the August Council meeting, Council committed to provide funding to the market on the condition that the market moved to a location other than the Bright CBD. So this was as a result of some feedback we'd received from traders in the CBD about the early closure of the street. Subsequent to this council meeting, council officers have worked collaboratively with the Bright Rotary Club and established a way forward which retains the twilight markets in the CBD but adjusts the road closure and the start of the market time.
So moved.
Councillor Forsyth and Councillor Keeble. Councillor Forsyth.
Can totally appreciate why the traders probably... anybody who has a business on a main street paying high rents doesn't really like to have their business disrupted by road closures, etc. So going to this new time slot, you're giving them an extra 2 hours. It's getting pretty hot in the afternoon by that time anyway. A lot of people are going home, so it'll create a bit of buzz at 4 o'clock, so I think it's good.
Councillor Keeble. Any other comment? Councillor Nichols.
Yep, I just want to comment that it's a really good step in the right direction, and we'll see how it goes this time through.
Just a quick
Councillor
question on both sides happy, so to speak.
Is that a question for me, Councillor?
Oh, I've looked at the Mayor, but he's looked at you to answer it, I think.
No, I missed your question. Was that about making sure the traders are happy with the
Yeah,
arrangement?
is it a good outcome I'm talking about between both parties each side?
So my understanding is it is a compromise still, but we believe, as Councillor Nicholas noted, we tried out this year and we've always got the opportunity to amend into the future. So I see it as a step, a step in the direction of placating some of the traders, but without losing their market from the centre of the CBD.
Thank you.
For the vote, all those in favour? Carried. Wrong way. Where am I going to make that mixed up? Job's right. 10.2.2 Pioneer Park BMX track, and I apologise, the paperwork's got a bit ahead of me.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. This report relates to a proposal to remove the existing BMX track in Pioneer Park in Bright in order to establish a new community and event space in that location and to construct a new bike track in the Rotary Pines area of the park. Back in 2016, when we developed a master plan for the Pioneer Park as part of the Alpine Events Park project, the establishment of the Oaks Lawn area, as it was called at the time, was foreshadowed, and that actually appears on the master plans at the time that were signed off by the user groups in the park. Time's moved on, and focus has recently returned to this area of Pioneer Park through engagement we've had with the Brighter Days Festival. So the Brighter Days Festival has been running in Howitt Park in Bright and is recognised to have reached the capacity of that space, or potentially exceeded the capacity. So in consultation with the committee's identified the Oaks Lawn area of Pioneer Park as their preferred location to relocate out of Howitt Park for their next year's event. The challenge we have with this location is that the BMX track is located centrally in the middle of the preferred area. It is the preferred area because of the shade that is offered in that area, which doesn't exist to the same extent in other areas of Pioneer Park. So the Brighter Days Committee have approached us with a proposal to essentially run their event in that location. This would require some work from Council to develop the area, and we've had some commitments of in-kind support from the community to help us with that development, and it will also require us to re-establish a BMX track in an alternative location of the park. The proposed location for that being the Rotary Pines area, where we already have a lot of cycling infrastructure. So that would bring the benefit of co-locating all our cycling infrastructure at the same location in the park. As I mentioned, there's no budget allocation for either of these projects or for this work during this financial year. Development of the Oaks Lawn is estimated to cost $60,000. That includes a drainage upgrade, irrigation installation to facilitate the preparation of a level area from which this event and future community and other events could be hosted. Development of a jump skills park is estimated to cost $80,000, which assumes it will take a similar footprint to the existing BMX track, and we've been consulting with the community, and this consultation is ongoing around what exactly that jumps park might look like and what it might deliver.
Moved.
Councillor Nicholas and Councillor Pearce. Councillor Nicholas.
I think this is a bit of a vexed matter, and I appreciate very much the engagement work that's been done around the BMX track where it is and what an alternative may be. And looking at the results of the survey and the discussions with the local people who will be the main users of the new track, I think it's fabulous that the concept of a jumps progression area is foremost at the moment, because of what we are now starting to build up in the hill a bit further. And that I think that as youngsters practice in a jumps progression park, then that's a good way forward. So it's for that reason that I think this is, again, a good step forward.
Councillor Pearce.
Thank you to my colleague Sarah. I think it's all very well, and this is only a new thing. We're sort of edging Brighter Days from down on the river back up to the sports event oval, and it just seems it's going to be pretty tough that we're going to get rid of the old track, get the band up on stage to play their gig, and then at the same time we've got to be way into getting ready. I think we've sort of half mentioned that we'll do it when we haven't got any money budgeted to get this new track up where it's going on the other area up there in the events park. I think that's a worry.
Councillor Janis.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Having visited the area on a number of occasions, the young people that use that track are passionate about that track. However, if we go back in history, that dirt was placed there as a convenience from some other construction. It was never properly moulded, so to say, and having been there on Saturday or Sunday during the rod run and watching some of the children there, I would be a little bit concerned with it as it is at the moment, with bricks and stone exposed, which would cause injury, or could cause injury. I think it would probably be a positive thing that be moved, relocated to at least, at minimum, like for like, bearing in mind the cost involved there. But I also would like to remind council officers and councillors that recently, when during my time as mayor, I received a lovely letter from a young man in Middleford who would also like to have a similar facility down in Middleford for the children, so they don't have to travel up here all the time to ride their BMX cars. I'm not asking for that tonight, but I would like councillors and staff to be conscious of the fact that there are also other young people waiting, and they deservedly need to, or should have something similar. And think we need, because this is an unbudgeted item, I think we need to be very careful with the spend on these things. It's great to ask for the world, but if you got just part of Tasmania, I think that'll probably be sufficient for the time being until we could properly scope it up and ensure that all parties are satisfied with the result. But I do agree that the Brighter Days Festival being situated there on a nice grassed track, as they call the Oaks, and they are lovely old oak trees there, that work does need to happen sooner rather than later, just because of getting some grass to grow. And I do note that there has been some input there from some of the local contractors there have put in-kind work there, which is a great asset, a great way for us to reduce some of our cost as well. So thank you to those businesses who have contributed there. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Forsyth.
Two things. Firstly, dot point 3, I think is important if we're taking this recommendation as a whole. We're mentioning 2033 there. So people on BMXs are probably not going to be around at that stage. They'll be up on the hill. So they would like to be able to, they'll be racing, but the ones that are around now probably want some skills development and what have you. Now, as far as sorry, Mr. Jeremy, you mentioned that this is an unbudgeted item because it's come up without forethought. In the scope of things, what are our capital projects for next year? Or this current year? The amount, total amount?
Approximately $11 million.
So $140,000 is kind of, we can quite easily cover this.
We have to be careful, as other councillors have reflected, on adding unbudgeted spend. This amount here, whilst we can accommodate this amount, cumulatively, if we keep on adding amounts to our budget, we end up in problems.
Certainly. My other point is that we do now cater for carryovers, and I'm assuming that there'll be some projects that won't get completed in this current year.
We aim to achieve 100% capital works delivery.
I realise that. Have we 110%? I think it was last year. Yeah, right. Thank you.
Councillor Keeble, almost done.
Almost done, thank you. I also have an issue with recommendation 3. I understand that the community consultation, that a lot of the students and people that use the current BMX track are interested in having one that has the jumps, not necessarily one that has hosting for BMX races. I'm just wondering why we have to have that there under this recommendation, because my understanding is that we're doing like for like in regards, if we number 2 is like for like.
Thank you,
Mr.
Councillor
Jeremy.
Keeble. So this follows the principle that we use with our project pipeline, where we don't turn down proposals that go into the pipeline. We recognise that there's a community desire, and we accommodate them within the pipeline. Then it's up to the councillors to prioritise them relative to the other projects that we have in the pipeline. So we've followed that principle here. We'll acknowledge it in the pipeline that there is a desire, and we'll leave it to the councillors then to establish where that should be prioritised.
No, that and I think that's great. I just don't want it to be confused with, because we'll do 1 and 2, we will do 3. To me, it's just in the pipeline. It's not a given that it will happen after 2033.
So beyond 2033 is the latest date we have in our pipeline. So essentially, it's everything into the unforeseeable future. So it's not defining a time at which it'll be delivered. It's just saying it's on our pipeline. It's recognised as the lowest relative to other projects, the lowest priority. But look, it's there. We've captured it. And if the councillors at some point in the future wanted to accelerate the priority, we can have that conversation.
Good explanation, Mr. Jeremy. Right, a reply, Councillor Nicholas.
Just wanted to reiterate what Mr. Jeremy said at the beginning, that the Oaks Lawn proposal was part of the master plan that was developed with all the user groups from the area having input. That in response to Councillor Forsyth's comment, BMX is an Olympic sport, so they might still be riding their BMX bikes that time in the future. And also just to say thank you to Mr. Jeremy for his explanation of how careful we are with our budget.
Right, I think we're ready for the vote. All those in favour? Carried. All those against? 1. .2.3 Myrtleford Resilience Plan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Myrtleford Resilience Plan has been developed to enhance the resilience of Myrtleford's community by creating or enhancing conditions for economic growth, building a resilient, diversified and sustainable community. So this piece of work was fully funded by Regional Development Victoria, and it was put together through a significant process of engagement with the community. So we engaged over 180 people from including residents, business owners, community organisations and other service providers. The resilience plan identifies short, medium and long-term actions and projects that will contribute to the ongoing vitality of Myrtleford. The action plan is a separate document, so by endorsing the Myrtleford Resilience Plan, you're making a commitment to progress those actions, but not the timeframe within which those will be delivered. So the recommendation is that Council endorses the Myrtleford Resilience Plan, considers the community feedback received through the development of the plan when reviewing the priority and the indicative implementation timeframe for capital projects listed in the project pipeline, and it continues to engage with the community and key stakeholders to progress the actions which we've identified in the supporting plan.
So moved.
Second.
I'm going to call Councillor Forsyth. There's a mover and Councillor Janus is a second. Councillor Forsyth.
Thank you.
Just hark back to the previous item, the BMX track. One of the suggestions within the Myrtleford Resilience Plan is to actually probably produce one in Myrtleford.
Nicely weaved into the conversation.
Yes, I know, there's a bit of a segue there. But look, no, I think this Myrtleford Resilience Plan has come about. There is a couple of things happening. There is also it's not just a ongoing commercial type resilience plan, there is also a resilience plan or meetings being put into place currently which will address social resilience as well. So I think it's all good, and Middleford probably needs this more than the other 2 major centres in the Shire.
Councillor Janus.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've been to a number of these community consultation meetings there. They were well attended, and there was good input not only from the community but from also business people, and it is a way forward for them. The whole plan actually came about because of some concerns that should one of our major employers fall over, then or withdraw from the area, then we would have a crisis in relation to employment, and we would also then need to work with the community so that they do have jobs. And I do note that recently the state government have made some announcements in relation to the timber industry, and the major employer is a mill, a timber mill, and we don't know what's going to happen there in the future. I'm not going to preempt any conversation with that, but there are things that we do need to plan for into the future should something occur there, and this plan is part of that planning for the community going forward. So I endorse it.
Thank you, Councillor Janus. Any other comment? Yep. Councillor.
For those people who don't already know, one of my passions is community engagement, and what I saw when I was at the engagement session I went to around this resilience plan was fabulous. I saw local people who really cared about what they were, what their community, having an input into how it would go into the future, and I'd like to see a lot more of that in the Alpine Shire and beyond if we can make it work. And one of the things that I think stems from that is that people have an ownership in what's been decided and talked about in the plan, and they are therefore a happy part of delivering it, and that's really important. So well done to the Alpine Shire for getting it going, and to the Projectura, the group who put the plan together and did the consultation.
I'm pretty sure we're just about done here. Councillor Forsyth?
No, nothing else.
To the vote. All those in favour? Carried. 10.2.4 Dinner Plane Event Funding Program 201920.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this report relates to the recommended distribution of funding following our usual event funding programme for Dinner Plane. What was unusual about this year was that we received no applications through the event funding programme. So what you see presented as a recommendation are four events that Council proposed to deliver using funding from the allocated budget. However, following the conclusion of this event funding application process, we've been engaging with the Sled Dog Challenge and the Geebung Polo events, and they've indicated potential interest in applying. So we have agreed to open a second round of event funding, which is currently open until the 27th of November, and any recommendations for funding arising out of this second round we will bring back to the December Ordinary Council meeting. So the recommendation is that Council allocates funding to support events in Dinner Plane as shown.
Councillor Janus, Councillor Nicholas. Councillor Janus.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's great that things are happening at Dinner Plane. The community up there always look forward to events and vitalisation of the commercial area up there. These events are certainly assist in that sphere, and I've no trouble recommending that at all. It's good for them. It's good for the Shire. So let's get on with it.
Councillor Nicholas.
Nothing to add.
Any further comment?
Just a simple one.
Councillor Forsyth.
I note that we've got a $50,000 budget up there. How much does the Geebung Polo Club usually need to run the event?
Thank you, Councillor Forsyth. From recollection, we or Council allocated $12,000 in the last financial year.
So we've got plenty left in the budget if we stick to all of these things.
I believe so, yes.
Excellent.
Can I make a comment, Mr.
Councillor Janus, yes, you have the right to reply.
Thank you. In relation to Geebung Polo Club, that I understand is to be co-funded with the East Gippsland Shire, and a decision from this council will be made, no doubt, into the future as to what source of funding there, but I understand it won't be all from Alpine Shire. There will be some, in the considerations, it'll be considered whatever East Gippsland Shire is there, because they are also beneficiaries of that event, and I think it's only fair and proper that that cost be shared, not just be borne by the Alpine Shire.
Any further comment? Okay, to the vote. All those in favour? .2.6 Standish Street upgrade.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. This report relates to the award of a contract for road reconstruction works in Middleford along Standish Street and the adjacent service lane between Clyde and Duke Street. In May 2019, we were successful in obtaining state government funding under the Fixing Country Roads programme. We secured $240,000 worth of funding for this project. We've been through an open tender process. We had 5 responses, and we've evaluated those responses, and the recommendation is for award to North East Civil Construction. So, recommendation that Council awards contract 1907-101 for the Standish Street upgrade to North East Civil Construction for the lump sum price of $276,972.81.
Councillor Forsyth, seconder.
Council,
Councillor Janus.
Sorry.
Sorry. Councillor Forsyth.
No comment. It's operational.
Councillor Janus.
Yep. The contractor in this regard has done work for council before. They have been very good in working with the business people, and there are business people that will be affected here. So I trust that their work ethic will remain the same in this section of road. I have pointed out to the CEO that there's a section a little bit further up there at the roundabout that is also in, and it's not far off there, also in need of dire work as well. Maybe that's in the next round of sealing, but it has been noted by myself and also members of the public. Thank you.
Any further questions? Right or reply to Councillor Forsyth? Or?
No.
To the vote, all those in favour? Carried. 10.2.7 Road Stabilisation and Patching.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. This report relates to the award of a contract for road stabilisation and patching. So it's part of our pavement renewal programme each year, and we do in situ stabilisation and patching. So essentially where the surface layer has deteriorated and water has got into the layer underneath, we have to dig it up, we have to return it to its proper layers and composition, and then reseal on top. It's a regular programme that we do each year. This year we're covering a broad area including Middleford, Rosewhite, Urobin, Cancun, Adederang, Coralbank, Tawonga, Mount Beauty, Wandi, Bright and Porpunga. We've been out to a public tender. We got 6 submissions, went through evaluation process, and the recommendation is to award to Stadelman Enterprises for the lump sum price of $141,648.
Councillor Pearce, seconder.
Yep.
Councillor Nicholas. Councillor Pearce.
Pretty well standard maintenance, I guess, around the Shire that goes on forever and makes it last as long as it can before we have to do it again proper. Thanks.
Councillor Nicholas.
Nothing to add.
Any further comments?
Thanks.
Councillor Napstein. Oh, you'll see that button in a second.
Oh,
Might just leave it on.
it's part of the job.
I'm turning it on and off, and it's driving me mad.
Just a quick question around the maintenance and the resealing, and that it's housekeeping and all of that. Are there distinctions between the roads that we do and look after and resurface and, for instance, the one that goes past, the main road in Bright, past the brewery, say, that part? So when we have wear and tear on roads that are both local and Vic roads, who pays?
So my understanding is that Vic roads are responsible for their roads, we're responsible for our roads, and there's always a bit of discussion around where specifically the interface is. So sometimes it's more logical for us to seal. If we're doing a local road, we'll do maybe a little bit of the junction, and if they're doing a main road, they'll do a little bit of ours. But largely the responsibility is split. They're responsible for their roads and we're responsible for ours.
Okay, thanks. I just sometimes find it confusing as to which is which.
Any further questions? So, just to clarify, well, we've got a pave liner in our fleet, and that's only for small potholes, and the patching we're talking about is square meterage type patches.
That's correct. So it would be possible to do it with the paved line, but the scope that we have to deliver in a year exceeds what we could deliver with the paved line.
Thank you. Well, to the vote. All those in favour? Carried. 10.2.8 Roberts Creek Road Bridge number 3 renewal.
So this report relates to the renewal of bridge number 3. So bridge number 3, for people who aren't familiar with the numbering, is beyond the transfer station. So if you travel up Roberts Creek Road and keep going, it's the single lane wooden deck bridge. This is for a renewal of that bridge, so replacement of the deck with a concrete deck, but strengthening to allow the load limit to be removed. We went out to tender with the 3 bridges packaged up together, and we were unsuccessful in inviting interest from the marketplace to do the 3 bridges. And I think what we learned is the technologies are slightly different. So bridges 1 and 2 are carbon fibre strengthening, and bridge 3 is more traditional replacement of deck and beams. So we didn't get a contractor who was willing to take these all on. We split the packages, we re-tendered, we've been awarded bridges 1 and 2 were under the CEO's delegation, and bridge 3 is presented to council as this exceeds the CEO's delegation. This has been funded by the Bridges Renewal Fund or Bridges Renewal Programme, with a contribution from council to complete the works. So the recommendation is for an award, the Roberts Creek Bridge Renewal number 3 to North East Civil Construction for the lump sum price of $157,470.
Councillor Keeble, Councillor Pearce, Councillor Keeble.
Nothing there. Glad to see that many.
Councillor Pearce,
I concur with my colleague by my side.
your learned colleague. Any further comment? To the vote, all those in favour? Carried. 10.3, Director Corporate Natalie Cook. 10.3.1, Climate Change Action, as referred to at the start of the meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The purpose of this report is to present a response to the notice of motion given at the September 2019 Ordinary Council meeting, being that Alpine Shire Council recognises, supports, advocates for and adopts initiatives that will help address the effects of climate change. The Climate Change Act of 2017 establishes Victoria's state target of net zero emissions by 2050. Victoria is on track to achieving its 2020 emissions reduction target of 15 to 20% below 2005 levels by 2020, and reduction is predicted to be 18.2% in 2020. It should be recognised that state and federal policy, legislation and funding will have the biggest impact on sustainability and emissions reductions. However, there are also actions that can be practically implemented at a local government level, and councils can work with their communities to decrease emissions across the municipality. Alpine Shire Council previously adopted a climate change action plan for the period 2012 to 2016. There have, however, been significant changes in both technology and cost efficiency since this time. Council continues to undertake a number of actions which are aimed at reducing our carbon footprint, and there is further potential to reduce our own emissions. To coordinate and assess the effectiveness and viability of a number of these actions, it is proposed that the development of a new climate action plan is put forward for consideration for inclusion in the 2020 to 21 budget process. The recommendation in the report is that Council 1 recognises...
I'll move an alternative recommendation.
Councillor Nicholas? Hear the motion, then we ask for a seconder.
Okay. The recommendation is that Council recognises, supports, advocates for and adopts initiatives that will help to mitigate and address the effects of climate change. Point 1. Point 2, allocate funding in the 2021 budget to develop a climate action plan. Point 3, identify and scope capital projects to reduce emission of greenhouse gases for consideration in the 2021 budget. Point 4, promote actions and the plan to local and broader communities. And point 5, develop and canvass a climate emergency statement for the next Municipal Association of Victoria State Council meeting.
I second the change.
Councillor Pearce? Seconder? So, would you like to talk through your opposed amendment, Councillor Nicholas?
Sure. The first change that I thought was really important was to add mitigate into the first point, because we have the capacity to reduce the amount of climate changing at this point in time, as well as address the effects of climate change, which to me are about adaptation, so helping those who are going to be affected by it. The second point remains the same. I think their climate action plan is really important, and I look forward to its development and being part of that. The third point I thought was important to strengthen it again towards emissions and reducing emissions rather than just the effect of climate change. I think that as we are already doing quite a lot as a local government, we're achieving some wonderful is that happening?
It's up there.
Good. Wonderful initiatives towards reducing our emissions, and I congratulate the councillors and staff for supporting that. I think that if we can promote that in the community, then we can help other people to make some of the changes that need to be made as well. And the fifth point, develop and canvass a climate emergency statement for the next MAV State Council meeting, I think is a really powerful way to work towards calling a climate emergency, because I don't think there's much time left in which we can get on top of emissions so that our children and their children aren't having to work through some really, really uncomfortable periods in human development.
Thank you, Councillor Nicholas. Councillor Pearce.
Well said, Sarah, and I have acknowledged already your changes there, and acknowledge that it's given the current situation, that's a pretty fair start. And I'd also like to ask council to pass on this to the two young girls from the school who gave us a presentation only a few weeks ago, India Rose and her young assistant, who came from the school and did a fine presentation. And if people like 15 and 16 can see this, I think it's great acknowledgement that Sarah's put forward these motions, and hope it all goes well.
Any further comment?
Just like to say, one thing on dot point 4. Should we actually specify that as the climate action plan as opposed to just the plan? Just for clarity.
Is the mover and seconder happy with that?
Sure, I am, yes,
Can we effect that change, please?
Happened.
Done? Thank you.
One more tiny thing, canvassing
hang
this
on.
concept is spelt with the two S's at the end.
Yep. No worries. Councillor Keeble?
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I'd just like to thank, there's been a lot of conversation behind the scenes over the journey this last little bit, and just thank Natalie Cook and her team, especially Natalie, for writing up that document with all the...
Yeah.
What's that? Oh, Natalie, okay. Or Natalie for writing up all that information for us to read. I know there's lots of stuff that we can read, but thank you for doing that. I know that the council is already doing many things to lower its footprint, and I'd hope to see in the future that we do have hybrid vehicles, if not all electric vehicles, and whether that's in the pipeline or not. But I know there's lots of things that we can do, and that would be one of them. So look forward to that.
Writer replying? Oh, sorry. Councillor Janice, I didn't see you there.
No.
So quick.
Well, that's why he's there for.
I didn't. He just said he's put his finger up. It was a finger raised, and it's got sort of no alarm to it. It's not ahem.
I was about to get to that. Yeah, I've never allowed to by Councillor Roper, and I shall remind him from time to time when he is wishing to make comment rather than control. In relation to point 5, with the MAV, I sit on the MAV board, and I am the council's representative at the MAV. And the MAV is the preeminent body that represents local government, and I think it is appropriate for them to, at state council level, where we have 79 councils represented at the state council meeting, and any motion that goes before that is carried, there are actions taken by the MAV on behalf of councils to government, whether it be state or federal. And I think that although they have a limited resource in some areas, they have a great resource in the information that they can obtain, and they work very closely with some of the councils that have already been into the forum of the climate action and have got a lot of knowledge there. And I feel that this is this part of the recommendation is something that can be taken forward into probably the March or whenever the next State Council meeting is, and is the appropriate time. But anything that goes before State Council has to be passed by the government, by the local government at a council meeting, and I think we are following that process correctly. So I note that Councillor Forsyth originated with this motion. It has been amended. There has been discussion, and I commend my councillors for commencing the action in this regard. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Janis. Councillor Nicholas, would you like to reply? All those in favour? And I beg your indulgence, Councillor Janis, but there's new messages coming through about this. New South Wales Government, catastrophic. Vic Government, code red, same level of alarm. Trust me on this, we need action. The language is important, but the action is paramount.
Yep.
So, I asked you, exactly. 10.3.2, Quarterly Report, Council Plan.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. This report provides the first quarterly report for 2019-20 against the Alpine Shire Council Plan for 2017 to 2021. The Alpine Shire Council Plan 2017 to 21 was developed following the election of the council in October in 2016. The council plan outlines the strategic objectives, strategies and indicators determining council's directions for the full-year term of the plan. The document is reviewed by Council annually to ensure that it continues to provide Council's intended directions for the term. There are a number of highlights within this plan for this first quarter of the financial year, one of which is that Council's refreshed website was launched on the 2nd of August 2019. The website's been entirely redesigned with a focus on improved search functionality to provide the community with easier access to information. We're also seeking feedback on that website from those users that are still in the community. The Business Systems Transformation Project is also currently underway with new systems for many areas across Council. We are working towards implementation of these new systems in 2020. The $2.6 million Middleford Indoor Sports Stadium expansion project was completed, along with the completion of smaller works, including the Toowoomba Primary School crossings upgrade and the Ranch Road drainage upgrade in Toowoomba South. And lastly, the annual Desexual Pet Month was held in partnership with our local veterinarians during July.
Councillor Keeble. Councillor Nicholas. Councillor Keeble.
It is great to see the annual report being brought to us from time to time, each quarterly. We can see things are ticking along. We're coming up to the third of our fourth year. We've got 10 months to go, one more year to go. I guess at some stage we will take stock of where we're at and what we might need to do come the next reiteration once those elections are done. So thank you.
Councillor Nicholas.
Yep. I've got a question about actually some of our actions in the past and into the future, particularly around in the report there's discussion or comment about a number of buildings that have been extended or built, repaired, and I just wondered whether the addition of rooftop solar is considered at the design stage of these sort of projects as a matter of course, or whether it's something that we have to add later.
Thank you, Councillor Nicholas. It hasn't been as a matter of course, and we have recognised that recently, and we will take action to ensure that in the design phase that is considered.
Any further questions? Comment of me? Sorry. Councillor Keeble, right to reply?
No, I agree with Councillor Nicholas.
To the vote, all those in favour? Carried. $10.3.3, Instruments of Appointment and Authorisation, Planning and Environment Act 1987. Any comment? Councillor Jennings?
No, it's an administrative thing, and welcome to our new planning member.
Councillor
Right.
Nicholas? Let's go to the vote. Any other further question? Any comment? No? Well, to the vote we go. All those in favour? Carried. That was quick and easy. 2.3.3. Item 11, Assembly of Councillors. That the summary of Assembly of Councillors for September, October and 2019 be received.
I'd like to make a correction.
Yes, Councillor Nicholas?
We happy to receive the summary, but in the 15th of October record of the meeting,
For the briefing session?
yep, Councillor Roper was recorded as present and he was in fact absent.
Can we amend that, please? Can we move and second it?
Move.
Yep. Councillor Napstein and Councillor Nicholas. All those in favour? Carried. General business from my right. Councillor Napstein?
In the briefing session, we discussed communication, and we're going to strengthen that between council and community. And I'd just really like to make a comment to people out there who feel they don't get feedback. You have every opportunity. You can do it via the website at the Shire, which has been updated and provides you every opportunity for that. Also, through your representatives, there are informal methods of feedback, and when you approach your councillor and give an opinion on a matter that's out there, be it hot rods or whatever it is, it does get brought to table. Now, I had a rather strong opinion, and you hear them from across the spectrum, it really doesn't matter. They are all heard and they are all brought to the table, and when I suggest that you do use the feedback form that's the opportunity with the council website, please don't deny yourself that opportunity and say you will work the matter out on Facebook, out in the community. It gets you nowhere. You have an opinion, you have a right to be heard, bring it to the table. Thank you.
Councillor Janus.
Just think about it for a bit.
You reserve your right, Councillor Janus.
Oh, that's the words, thank you. No,
Councillors Forsyth.
I'm clear.
Oh, you're
Thank
right.
you.
Yep. Councillor Forsyth.
I just congratulate Councillor Roper on becoming mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Nicholas.
No, nothing.
Nothing. Councillor Keeble.
I would also like to congratulate Councillor Roper on becoming mayor and Councillor Nicholas on becoming deputy mayor. We're blessed in that any one of us can really move into those roles, I think, on this council, and it is great to see that democracy is at action from time, so well done. On a different matter, Kiwa Street in Mount Beauty, Kiwa Crescent in Mount Beauty, there is a double line in between the roads, and people continually go from the left-hand side as you're travelling southeast,
East-west.
and then head over towards where the shops are, which is illegal, and I know this is a police matter, but it would be worth looking. There's been a lot of community talk over the many months about having some sort of island in that street to stop cars, but at the same time we'd need to have an island where people can move their trolleys from one side of the street to the other. It'd be worth having a look at. That's all I would say at the moment.
I think you'll take that as noted.
Thank you, Councillor Keeble. So it has been raised with us in a previous council meeting, and we have actually started looking into it. We have discussed a proposal of a pin-down curb down the centre of the street with some soft reflector posts down the middle. The next step is for us to engage with the community around that proposal to just test the support that there is in the community for that.
Okay, that's terrific, because I will get another question on it tomorrow in the radio interview. Thank you.
Councillor Pearce.
Well done on your first night. I just hope we can sort of build on what we've got here tonight, and hope for the final year of this 4-year term that we can finish off and move on from here.
Reception and reading of petitions, which we have none, but we do have some documents for sealing. And can I have a mover and a seconder for the document? Councillor Nicholas? Councillor Knapstein? All those in favour? Carried. And being the end of the meeting, I'd like to thank all that have turned up. I'd congratulate Charlie on his running of the citizenship ceremony, and I'm inclined to actually move a motion that he does them all in the future.
And we always had 12.
And exactly.
There's legislation that overrides that, Councillor.
I'm well aware of that, but it was worth a try. So have a safe trip home. The time is, what time is it? 8:16. 8:16. I'd like to declare the meeting closed. Thank you very much for your attendance. Goodbye.